Hey Insiders, Michael Tompkins on the podcast today, whose journey from nurse to CEO had him leading teams of hundreds. Michael is renowned as one of the most effective leaders in the spa and wellness industry. Today's conversation is all about care. Specifically, how do you build teams that actually, authentically care about the guest and show up as if every single day is their version of the Super Bowl? Very actionable insights on this one today, guys. Whether you are a CEO yourself, or leading a small team trying to build something great in your community. Hope you enjoy. Michael, thank you so much for joining us today. I am
Pleasure.
Honored to have you on the podcast.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
In thinking about our conversation today, it's been hard to figure out where to begin because you have done so much cool stuff. You started out as a nurse, spent 7-8 years doing that, went on to found probably the first functional medicine program at Canyon Ranch, then shifted and went to the other end of the spa spectrum, founded an amazing destination spa, and then synthesized the two together at Miraval with just this amazing experiential focus on care and wellness, and led that company to its most profitable that it's ever been in the middle of a recession.
Mm-hmm. Boy, you've done your homework.
It's like I couldn't stop reading. You have just been a part of so many cool things. And now you're literally creating bespoke experiences, high touch, for the most influential, powerful people in the world, royalty and presidents and Supreme Court justices. I just feel deeply honored to be able to talk with you.
Thank you. I've had a really blessed career that I'm honored to have worked at all the places I have.
I'd love to explore this theme of care with you. I'm curious, when you were a nurse, did you have a moment where you started to realize that your definition of care expanded outside of allopathic medicine?
Yes, I did. If I were to speak on nursing in general, one of the greatest tools that you're given in education as a nurse is to quickly assess an individual patient's needs. And oftentimes that person can't talk. So everything has to be done through nonverbal cues. And I worked in Western medicine for about 10 years before switching over to Canyon Ranch in the Berkshires. And I had several departments in health and healing that were answering to me, and one of them was neuromuscular therapy. And they had a background as massage therapists. And so they said, we understand that you know medical, you know doctors, you know nutrition, behavioral health, but we don't know that you understand massage therapists and all that we do. So I went to college and got a degree in massage therapy.
Really?
And yes, and
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
I'm a licensed massage therapist as well. And what that did was change me. I went and got a certification in craniosacral therapy with the Upledger Institute. And when I was on the table having the service, even though I wasn't being touched, I could feel my spine unraveling from the therapist who was doing the work on me.
Wow.
It really put me in a very profound space. And the next time I put my hands on somebody, I was instantly pulled into their body.
Wow.
And I could sense where their pain was, where they might have been hurting, what needed to be worked on. And my husband thought it was the greatest thing because he used to use me as a party trick. And he would say, put your hands on them and tell them where they hurt or where there's a problem area in their body. And I would do it. And it would be like the greatest thing when we were out. People were like, oh, he's psychic or whatever, but it's really what they teach you in terms of touch. And that touch doesn't necessarily have to be the sense that you and I are all used to, the tactile part of it, but it could be energetic. That was the first time that I realized there was healing beyond the capacity of healing from a traditional Western and nursing care. And it was then that I realized to treat the total body, mind, body, and spirit. It comes in all different forms.
Wow, that is incredible. So in my experience talking with massage therapists, at the core of who they are caregivers. And it sounds like through nursing and through your training as a massage therapist, that seems to be the case for you. How do you translate this authentic, deep desire to care for somebody into these massive teams that you've led?
That's an interesting question. In just thinking about that, when you're a nurse, you're working in a one-on-one situation and you are the provider giving the care. However, there are skill sets that translate beyond patient care that are conducive to any environment. So, for example, anticipating someone's needs, listening, having a genuine attitude toward the betterment of someone else. All of these things are also synonymous with hospitality and spa. The difference actually ended up being not so much in providing the level of care, but in changing the culture of an organization where the care is delivered by others. In order to do that, you have to provide a safe environment for your workers. You have to make sure that your employees feel supported and listened to. You have to make sure that there's the availability for mental health services when they need them, as an example. And you have to lead by example and show empathy and caring. Once that happens, it's sort of lights a fire to people to see that in providing that for others, you can provide a very unique experience that feels authentic and real, while at the same time being able to apply the standards of service like Forbes and Michelin have to give the best service in the world. So then it not only becomes a culture that permeates among your team, but it also permeates among your guest population.
When you're talking about creating a sense of safety, what is that safety from?
Anytime you're working in hospitality, there is the potential of someone being disappointed about something, whether it's the room that they got or the food that they ate, or feeling like someone didn't provide the level of care or attention that they were expecting based on what they were paying for when they come to your hotel or spa. And the ability for emotions to escalate, and an employee maybe being 2 generations younger, maybe it's their first job they ever had because they're 17 years old working in your locker room. All of these different scenarios where experience might not be there, and yet the potential for an escalation of emotion is always there.
Mm-hmm.
So making sure that your workers feel safe, feel supported, that there's managers who they know they can come to. They know they can say to the guest, allow me to get someone who can take care of this for you, so that they can step away from the situation if they need to. That's one small example, but there are so many on any given day. I'm a general manager now, no longer a CEO, but still in a leadership role. And I always feel it's important that I try to understand every single job task of every single position in my organization. I'm not saying that I'm doing it. I'm certainly not serving our guests during lunch, but I understand the process by which that should happen. And if something goes wrong, I can step in and either get them somebody who can take care of it, or I can intervene with the guest myself. And I think that shows a level of support that many people in our industry don't have, because they're sort of left to the wind. And here's your job, go do it.
You're leading from an ivory tower.
Exactly. And they learn through baptism through fire. And that is not what guest service or hospitality is about.
Very interesting. So if you're a leader and you're aspiring to deploy that in your own organization, where do you start with that?
You start with empowering your team to make decisions on their own and allowing failure. Many people feel like if I fail, I'm going to get in trouble. I might lose my job. And I think if you're empowering your employees to take on the responsibility of answering the problem and solving the problem on their own, not only is it educating them to their job role, but it's also expanding their job role into the caring and the guest service piece that gives them a positive sense of self. And if they fail in that process, it is correcting those mistakes in a way that is empathetic and supportive, and a teaching lesson rather than a punishment.
How do you straddle that line?
Well, mostly in knowing your guests and knowing your employees. I don't just go to work every day and know that I have 250 employees on my team and that I'm just going to talk to the department head or the manager of an area. I try to learn the names of every single employee. I try to learn something about them. Do they have kids? Are they in school? Where do they live? What are their likes? Do they like a certain motorcycle or whatever? And some way to bond with them in a way that is personalized, because it shows that I can be personalized to their needs or their lifestyle without being intrusive. What I've found is that in managing people, they like individualism. Everybody wants to feel like they're getting an experience that's geared directly towards them. whether that's a guest or an employee, I try to make it my intention of learning. And when we give out anniversary cards or when we give out birthday cards for the staff, I write a personalized note to them and put it in the card. And I've had employees come up to me and say, "You're the first general manager I've ever worked with for 20 years who ever wrote me more than their signature in the birthday card." And it meant a lot. Anytime you walk away from a situation where you can provide something positive toward an employee and they feel that, then they want to replicate that not only to the rest of the team members to help create that cultural environment, but also to the guest.
Wow. So within our audience, there's a lot of entrepreneurs and they've got 12 hours of work in a 10-hour day. What advice would you give to them on the ROI of taking the time to do the things that you described?
Well, I try to put it together. It could be a Gantt chart or something like a Gantt chart. It would be a circle and a circle and a circle. And the smallest circle is you. So the smallest circle would be me. And I would come third in an organization. And the second is the team. And the team is the next biggest. And so the team would come before me. What does the team need for us to be successful? And then the third biggest circle is the business. Because if the business isn't a success, then the team and you won't exist in that environment. So it's making sure that everyone is conscious of financials. Everyone is conscious of guest survey scores. Everyone is conscious of feedback, both from our guests and our other employees, and making sure that the business thrives first. And so when I have general orientation, I will tell all of the new employees, you might come to work thinking that this job is about you and it's how much you make and you're here for the money, etc. But if you're not thinking of the business first and your team second before yourself, this probably isn't the organization for you, because we're a model of hospitality. And in a model of hospitality, the business has to come first, which ultimately puts the guest first, because that's your customer.
Yeah. And when you're saying the business, that kind of surprised me at first. I thought you were going to say the customer, but what you're saying there makes sense, because it's about feeding the larger organism that is able to execute for the guest and the customer.
And that's what I meant by, instead of delivering patient care on a one-on-one model, it is creating that environment that is conducive to other people providing that and me overseeing that delivery of the experience.
I love that. And I think that scalability is so hard. What I hear you saying is that it seems like you're trying to provide folks with not just a view of their silo, but of the macro business. How do you walk the line between making them feel invested in the whole and exposing them to noise?
Well, I think it is trust. There's an inherent level of trust that you would have with any of the people that you work with. And then that trust is modified based on where they are in your organization, whether they're a line level employee or a supervisor or the manager or a department head. When you say a fine line, I don't tell all my team everything every single time, because what then could happen is if they hear that and they don't come to you to specifically ask questions, then they're going to share that with others, and it's going to be like the telephone game, and there's going to be 3 sides to every story, and then you're fighting rumors. It's very difficult to manage a rumor that 10 other people have told in 100 different ways. And so I try to stick to general things that everyone needs to know to be able to deliver good customer service and feel like they're in an organization of trust and empowerment, and that they're being listened to. The detailed things I will share with department heads, managers, and supervisors, and I will preface it with, this is a confidential conversation. Because if it ends up not being confidential, and it has many times in my career, then I can go directly to that person and tell them the level of trust that I have in you has now been broken. And so we have to fix that, and you're going to have to fix that, or we're going to have a problem moving forward with us leading this organization to where it needs to fit.
I love that. So you're creating an accountability that you can then draw on later.
Exactly.
I love that.
And I hope by providing that example, they're doing that with the people that they're overseeing.
That's phenomenal. Is we're talking about this idea of cultivating that team that can then feed the business. You've done that multiple times, right? That is kind of like a systemized things for you. What is often the biggest barrier to getting momentum with that?
I think the biggest barrier is the time it takes to learn. When you go into an organization, everybody wants to rush in and be the hero. And you want to do it better than the person who was before you. And you want to be the best person in your role that there's ever been there. I don't go in and look at it like that for two reasons. The first is I'll use ISPA as an example. When I was chairman of ISPA, I learned that this is a very large organization. It was at the time, I think, in 78 countries. There are thousands of people here at conference. And so I learned that you can't just make a change overnight, that you have to have both staff and board and move the organization in very slow, steady steps. And so I likened it to steering an aircraft carrier. In my job, it's not like that. You also can't go in and rush into making huge changes. And so I always say the learning curve is about 6 months. And so I try not to make any major decisions except for the ones that need to be made for the business at the time for operating. But for any large changes that the business is making, again, you have to understand the company, the employee, the team before you can really be thought of as a leader, and you have to be consistent with it. That's what's going to earn people's trust.
Consistency.
And I don't go into a job thinking, I want to be the best general manager, I want to be the best CEO, I want to be the best consultant. I go in thinking that the leaders that are behind me, I want to make them the best that they can be so that when I leave, the business can thrive because I've taught the right people the right things to do in whatever situations are needed.
Your job is training your replacement.
That's exactly it. I go into every job that I have to train a replacement.
Wow.
And usually I can identify that person very quickly.
Really?
Yes.
What are the characteristics?
People who are direct, people who are hardworking, people who aren't looking at the clock, ones who put the business first, ones who are pleasers and doers and want to make the organization better, somebody who has integrity, someone who can be trusted, and someone who's enthusiastic about what you're offering as a product. If you find those key assets and skill sets in an employee, it's something that I try to nurture. I knew who my replacement would be in my current role 3 weeks after I got at the job.
Wow.
Yeah. And I've already promoted him to assistant general manager.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
So we're approaching the end of our time, so I'm very curious. Who is the mentor in your life that has made the most impact on you?
Well, I chose non-traditional careers in that my first career was a male nurse in a field that was, at the time, I'm going back 40-something years, a predominantly female industry. And then I transitioned from a hospital to a resort setting, but the resort setting that I chose was in spa, which at the time was very female dominated. Now it's about 50-50, right? So all of my mentors have been women throughout my life, including my own mom. And so would I say my mother is a mentor for me business-wise? No, but my mother taught me ethics, right? And not lying and being truthful. And then the first nursing director that I had taught me to take on roles and be confident in the way I was providing care for someone. And to this day, I'm still Facebook friends with her. We just texted. I just had a red light piece of equipment sent to her. So in spa, I would say if I could choose one person, it would be Jane Segerberg. I have done 6, or hopefully this next one will be the 7th world best spa with her. And whether she's acted as a major piece of the consultancy as we build it out based on my role, obviously, as CEO of a corporation, I couldn't do strictly the spa on my own. But even now, I have Jane helping me on probably about 40% of the new spa I'm building. You have to realize at some point that others have a skill set that you don't have. Jane is very good with architectural plans and built-ins and MEP specs. She can pull out an architectural plan and a ruler and tell you that you're 3 inches short for the radius turn of handicapped.
If you can take one lesson that Jane's taught you and package it for entrepreneurs that are listening, what would that be?
I think it would be resourcefulness. Jane remembers every single person, their contact, their name, what their email is, where they went to after they left a certain job. So I can say to her sometimes, hey, I'm thinking about doing this. And she'll say, oh, I know Sally from whatever, and she's done that before. And let's give her a call and find out what worked and what didn't. That resourcefulness is invaluable when it comes to leading an organization and working with people who are your mentors.
I love that. Michael, it has been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you for taking some time
I appreciate
to
it.
share your experience with us.
All right. And thank you so much.